methods, but we will use Hamilton's principle, which has many advantages. For example, we can find the boundary conditions and the equation of motion simultaneously using Hamilton's principle. So, for example, in this case, we have masses which are displaced by some displacement x1 and x2 from stationary positions. Then we will find the equations of motion between the time intervals t1 to t2. For example, the masses are moving from time t1 to t2. So for this, according to Hamilton principle, the sum functional L can be integrated from time to t2. It gives you the extremum values. Either it is gives you the minimum value or the maximum value. Here L functional is defined in terms of kinetic energy, strain energy, and work done by this equation 2, P minus U plus W is equal to 0. In the Hamilton principle, when we perform variation of this functional, then the integration of equation 1 becomes 0. This is the Hamilton principle. So we will apply this concept in derivation of the simple equation. So here for the given system, we have mass m1, it is displaced by x1, mass m2 displaced by x2, and due to the displacement, they are moving, therefore they have velocities which are represented by the time derivative of these displacement x1 and x2. So we represent the velocity by x1 dot of mass m1, velocity of mass m2 will be represented by x2 dot, and therefore the kinetic energy can be written simple half mv square. So we have total kinetic energy of the system, therefore we can find total potential energy of the system. These are the extensions or compressions of the spring for finding the potential energy, and therefore at the end we have work done due to these external forces, because we are applying some external forces, and these external forces we have some work done. Now when we substitute these equations in the Hamilton's principle, equation number 3, and we have the following expression after performing some necessary variations. Means variations, the variation is similar to differentiation. When we perform delta t, it is similar to differentiation. So half mv square, half m1 x1 dot ka square. When we perform variation, x square will become the coefficient 2, and 2 to 2 cancelled. Therefore we have m1 x1 dot and delta x1 dot. So in this equation 5, overall we represent the equation describing the Hamilton principle in terms of variations of the displacements, actual displacements of the system. For example, actual displacement is delta x1 and delta x2. So we represent the whole equation which contain only delta x1 and delta x2. So in the first part of the integration of equation 5, we have the variation of delta x1 dot. Therefore, this must be changed to delta x1 by integrating it from time t1 to t2. Therefore, after integrating this from time t1 t2 by parts, we have the following equation. So it becomes integration first function into integration of second function. This is integrated by part. So we have this equation of motion, and the last part, because we are finding the displacement at known time t1 and t2, therefore the last part will be 0, because it becomes known and the variation of known quantity will be 0. So finally, by collecting the coefficients of different variations in the previous equation, equation number 6, we will be able to find these two equations of motion for the system. So for this, we can very easily find the natural frequencies of the system by taking the values of m1 and m2. For example, in this problem, we take m1 is equal to 10, m2 is equal to 1, k1 is equal to 30, k2 is equal to 5, k3 is equal to 0. So in the above equation, we have mass matrix M and K matrix, stiffness matrix K. Therefore, we can easily find the natural frequencies using eigen subroutine of MATLAB. So we simply define these matrices in MATLAB. M is equal to, we define this, K is equal to, we define this, then omega 2 is equal to eigen of K and M. We can also find eigenvalue of M comma K, but it gives you the 1 by omega 1 square. So here eigenvalues give you the square of the frequencies, which is given by 2.5 and 6.0. Therefore, the actual natural frequency will be obtained by taking the square root of omega 2. So because the simple is, we have very simple structure, we have different masses, we are known to us, then we can very easily find by using the eigen subroutine the two natural frequencies of the system. Now we will do some complex problem. For example, we have a curved beam. It has a curvature which is represented by R, and we have different layers of material properties. We have different material properties in this layer, and we will develop one-dimensional equation because this is a beam, curved beam. Therefore, the other dimension will be very small as compared to thickness and length. Therefore, we have only variables which are in the thickness direction and the length direction. Therefore, for this case, we have sigma y, tau yz, tau xy, means the variables which are dependent on y direction will be 0. And in beam or plate cases, we have thickness deformation is very negligible because length is very large in comparison to thickness. Therefore, sigma z will be 0. For this case, we have first for finding the derivation of such equations, such systems, we have to know the value of the constitutive equations. So we have in equation number 7 constitutive law sigma, and we have the relationship between stress and strain. So for this we have longitudinal strain which is represented by sigma x, and it is a function of normal strain. Therefore we have similarly we have shear stress which is a function of shear strain. So this is our constitutive law, and the material properties will be Q1 and Q55. These are the symbols which is well known and well established and mostly used in scientific community. Now for 1D beam, we have the following strain displacement relations. Here epsilon x is obtained in terms of derivative of in-plane displacements and transfer displacement. Here U is the in-plane displacement and W will be the transverse, and the direction in the thickness direction. And we have shear strain. Now third will be which theory we are using. For example, we can use the classical beam theory, we can use first order shear deformation theory, we can use third order shear deformation theory. The third order shear deformation theory will be slightly advanced. Therefore, we will use this theory for finding the derivative, because we are using third order theory, we can use this for thin beam and we can use this for thick beam as well. It works both for thick and thick beam. So for curved beam, we have this expression where Rz is the third order function. It is a cubic function. That is why it is known as third order theory, which is represented by Rz is equal to this. And this is taken from paper, and R1 dash R2 dash R defined, delta is defined here, C1 and C2, these are the coefficients. These are the coefficients are obtained in this paper. In this slides we obtain Rz function by imposing the conditions of zero shear strains at top and bottom surfaces. Now after finding the strains, displacements, we represent them because we want to find or we want to develop a program in MATLAB. Therefore, we represent these matrices, these functions in terms of matrices. For example, the displacement of third order theory, equation number 9, can be obtained in matrix form like this, where F0 is some function of Z, which is given in equation number 12. U0 is a vector containing the three displacements, which are shown in the equation number 9, U0, W0, comma Z, and psi naught. These are the variables of the third order theory. Similarly, we can find the strains by substituting these displacements represented in equation 9 by substituting in equation number 8. Therefore, we have two strains, epsilon x and epsilon y, and after performing differentiation, we will be able to find the strains in terms of derivatives of the displacements. So here we have function f1z, which is obtained like this, and epsilon 1 is the derivative of the displacements or the strains, which is given epsilon naught is equal to del u by del x and w by r and so on. And shear strain, similarly, we can find the shear strain in terms of functions f2z and epsilon 2, and functions are defined here, equation number 12 again. Now we substitute like in the previous case, we have expressions for the Hamilton principle. So in Hamilton principle, we have some terms of kinetic energy, some terms of potential energy, and some terms of mechanical work done by external forces. Therefore, we substitute these displacements in the potential energy terms and in kinetic energy terms and in work done. And after performing integration, proper integration and some variational step, we will be able to find, or we will be able to derive the following equation, equation number 13. So when we are performing the programming, so we must know equation number 11 and equation number 12. These will be used in the programs. And equation number 13, equation number 14 are used as a derivation of other equations. Therefore, we perform now equation number 3. We substitute the values of strains epsilon x in terms of functions, tau zx, yani shear strain in terms of some functions, in terms of displacements like this, and u and w, the displacements and their derivatives. When you substitute these values, means epsilon gamma zx and epsilon x, u and w, you will be able to find the equation number 14. So after substituting equation number 11 and equation number 9 and equation number 7, so we will be able to find the following equations. Equation number 14. Now in this equation we have other definitions. For example, we have some functions and inertia matrices which are representing the mass of the beam at each point, and some stiffness coefficient, or you can say the resultant of forces and movements, which are represented by nx, mx, and px and qx. These equations highly dependent on the theory you are considering. For example, we are using third order theory, so we have different values of px, qx, mx, and nx. If we are using some simple theory, for example, classical theory and first order shear deformation theory, then we have different expressions for these values. Now, after substituting the values of functions, and we will be able to find the inertia matrix and nx, nx, px like this. So here the inertia matrix I bar and I cap are defined by these functions like this. So these functions are very useful in the programming using MATLAB because it is an inertia matrix. So we have these terms and we will obtain these matrix using program. Similarly, we have resultant forces nx, mx, px. So we will be able to find these matrices using MATLAB again. So when we substitute these and write the expression of equation number 14 for different values of displacement. For example, we have defined in equation number 14 the displacement. This is the displacement vector which is represented by u naught. Now we expand this having different displacements. For example, u naught have u0, w comma x, and psi naught. These are the displacements which are the parts or elements of u naught bar. Therefore, we expand this in terms of available displacements of the system we are considering in the formulation. So in the third order theory, we have 3 displacements. So in this, we expand this equation containing all the 3 displacements. Now, these displacements have coefficients of epsilon u naught, means variation of displacement u naught, w naught, and psi naught. So when we collect the coefficients of delta u naught, variation of u naught, similarly we collect the variation of w naught, and we collect separately the variation of epsilon naught coefficient, then we will be able to find the equations of motion. So we have three displacements, therefore we have three equations of motion. Similarly, the other parts which are shown by some, you can say some bar, nx bar, and so on. These are the consistent boundary conditions which are obtained by Hamilton's principle. So we have now equations of motion, we have boundary conditions. Now once you are able to find the equations of motion, then you have the solution. You require the solution for finding the deflection, for finding the frequency, and for finding the time displacement curve, and so on. So this equation is much difficult than you have considered in the previous case. For example, for two mass system, that equation was very easy, and you know the values of mass m1, m2, and so on. Then you can easily find the natural frequencies. But in this case, the equations are very difficult, and it is not very easy or simple. Yeah, you can write a simple, very simple program. Therefore, we have a complex boundary condition, complex system of equations. It can be solved for which type of boundary condition. For example, if we want to find the analytical solution of the system, then this can be obtained for simply supported boundary conditions only. For example, cantilever boundary condition, you will now be able to solve this equation using analytical method. And for example, other boundary condition, but using finite element method, you can employ any boundary condition and solve these equations which are given in equation number 17. So now we will develop in this analytical solution using Fourier series. So we have now solution. So first, for finding the solution, we represent equation number 17 in terms of matrix form. In terms of matrix form. For finding the matrix form, you can very easily see the left part which are represented by I11, I12, I13. We have the expressions of displacement. But in the right side, nx, x, mx, x by r, we have some force resultant and movement resultant in this case, and it is not represented in terms of displacement. Okay. So first step for finding the solution or for obtaining the solution, we have to represent these force resultants and movement resultants in terms of displacements. So these are defined in terms of displacement using stiffness coefficients of beams.
1 second, sir.
Yes.
Ashok Sajjan. Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
So we have now displacement in the left side, and in the right side of equation we have some stress resultants, movement resultants, and force resultant, etc. So we will represent the movement resultant, stress resultants in terms of displacement using stiffness coefficients. So when we substitute, or we have definitions of stiffness coefficient nx, mx, px, which are defined like this. So here we use the constitutive law. We have the material properties, we have the strains, and we have other functions which are defined in the previous slides. And when we integrate these over thickness, we will be able to find the stiffness coefficients, which is represented by A. And so in this case, we have three displacements, and we have therefore 3 by 3 matrix, A matrix. So we have the coefficients of A matrix. Yes.
Presentation is not visible.
See, you have to pin the presentation. It is visible to us.
Visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So we have the coefficient of strain 1. It has 3 strain components. the coefficient is represented by A. This is defined. This is known as stiffness matrix of beam, which has 3 by 3 size, and each coefficients are obtained by integrating over the thickness of functions, which are given in equation number 19. And therefore, we need these matrix A for programming. Similarly, we have matrix A bar, and we will also calculate A bar using programming. Now, epsilon naught in equation number 19, we have displacement. In equation number 19, first equation, we have strain. Again, we will represent the strain in terms of displacements when we substitute the values of nx, mx, px in equation number 17, and we will be able to find, or we can represent equation number 17 in terms of displacements in the following form. And we can have, this is very standard equation. We have similar equation used in very simple structure. We have the coefficients, we have double derivative of the displacement vector u dot, and we have displacement vector u bar. This is represented like mx double dot plus kx is equal to p. Where in this case we have L matrix has different mathematical operation, differential operation. So we say this is an operator matrix. So we have L matrix, we have L bar matrix, and so on. We have displacement vector u bar, and we have load vector. So in this we apply load in transfer direction, in the direction of W. Now for this boundary condition, we use simply supported boundary condition, which is given by this. For simply supported, nx is equal to 0, W is equal to 0. You know very well the boundary condition. So for this boundary condition, we can find the exact solution using Navier's method. So in Navier's method, we represent the displacement, or we can expand the displacement in terms of sines and cosines. So for the boundary conditions given in equation number, at the last of the slide, we have the solutions. U naught is represented by in terms of cos functions, psi naught represented by in terms of cos functions, W naught and PZ are represented in terms of sine functions. So when we substitute these displacement in terms of as a function of sine and cosine in equation number 21 and perform operations using this operator L matrix and L dash matrix, then we will be able to find the mass matrix and stiffness matrix of the system. So this is for nth Fourier term. We have mass matrix, which is represented by this M, and we have stiffness matrix. This is represented by K. Now we will be able to solve this equation. So for programming, we have to find the stiffness coefficient I, and we have to find the stiffness coefficient, which is represented by K. These are the functions of A. You have obtained in A matrix, A11, A12, A13, and so on. And similarly, we have stiffness coefficient, and we have inertia coefficients M. So I11, I12, I13 will be obtained using inertia matrix, which is defined in the previous slides. Then we will be able to solve this equation. For example, if I want to find the static analysis of beam using this method, so we can use different type of loads. We have, for example, sinusoidal load, we have UDL, uniformly distributed load, and we have point load. So we have different functions for Fourier terms for point load. We have different Fourier terms functions for UDL. We have different Fourier terms for sinusoidal load. So we have expand these loads or functions using some sinusoidal function. Now we will perform some programming depending upon these equations of motion. So for example,
Sir.
if you want to find the static
Sir.
due to some
Yakub
load,
sir.
yes,
Thank you, sir. I think some screen problem. I think it is not visible. It seems, sir. Again, you
Kindly
can share it.
it is visible.
Sir,
It is visible.
Sir, they have to pin it to the speaker's
Yeah,
name.
they have to pin it.
Yeah,
I
then-
request all the participants to pin their speaker
Yes, sir.
presentation.
Two participants will be there, sir. As in ACU. One is as in ACU presenting. You have to pin to
That that you need to pin.
please
Now,
pin it.
it is okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
It is visible, sir. Earlier also is.
Please continue, sir.
Is it okay? Okay.
Yes, sir. Please
Now we
continue.
will start some programming. So in this, for example,
Can
I
you
have
show the previous
currently
slide, sir? Sir, can you
two
show the
different-
previous slide?
in the previous slide, okay? We have the equations of, in this matrix, we have the equations of motion in terms of operators. We have different operators. We have second order derivatives. We have first order derivative. We have third order derivative. We have fourth order derivative. Now we substitute the solution in terms of Fourier series. In Navier solution, we expand the displacement using Fourier series in terms of cosines and sines, depending upon the boundary conditions. So for this boundary condition, we can expand the displacement, impelling displacement u and shear rotation using cos functions. Similarly, the transfer displacement and load, it can be expanded using sine functions. And these functions exactly satisfy the boundary conditions given at the end of this slide. Okay. Now, after substituting the expansions in the displacement in equation number 21, we will be able to find the equation number 23 after performing necessary differentiations. So when you perform differentiations, you will be able to find the inertia matrix, mass matrix I, and stiffness matrix K. Now the derivation part of this problem is complete, and we will solve this equation. So we can solve this equation for free vibration. We can solve this equation for force vibration. We can solve this equation for static analysis. For example, for static analysis, we have only load vector, and you have to find the displacement. Then the inertia term will be automatically 0. So we omit m part, yani we have derivative of the displacement, time derivative of the displacement, they will be neglected, and we have ku is equal to p. Okay, so we have to find the value of k, we have to find the value of p, then the solution, the value of u, you can find the value of u, displacement vector, by simply taking the inverse of stiffness matrix k into p. Similarly, if you find the free vibration analysis, you find the natural frequencies of the system, then we can use similar subroutine, eigen k comma m. This will give you the square of the natural frequencies of the corresponding mode. Then you can find the natural frequencies by taking the square root. Now we want to program this problem. So first we identify the geometry of the problem. For example, I have a curved beam which has radius of curvature which is represented by r. So in programming, you need some inputs. So input will be the radius of curvature 1. Similarly, for example, we have thickness h. We have input, obviously we give some input thickness in the program, and we have some length. We give you the program some length L. Okay. After that, if you are using, for example, multi-layered beam, we have a number of layers, for example, L number of layers in the beam, then L will be the input to the program. Similarly, the material properties. We have different layers, we have different material properties. So in this, we are using composite material. So it has orthotropic material properties. So it has 9 material properties. We have to give the value through input, Young's modulus in 3 directions, shear modulus G12, G13, mu12, mu13, and so on. So we have different shear modulus, we have Poisson ratios, we have stiffness coefficients. Because we are using composite material, it is fibrous, it has different fiber directions. Therefore, we have to transform the fiber direction, the material properties in our coordinate system. For example, we are using X, Y, and Z coordinate system. We have to transform the material properties from the composite material coordinate system to our problem coordinate system using some transformation. Now, so we start programming using MATLAB. So this is simple, very simple. Some standard, we have prepared some input files. For example, in this, we have input files represented by resource RES. and we have different output files, txt, ctl, and so on. So these are the extensions which should be given to the input file and the output file, which you want to prepare using MATLAB. Okay. Then we use input file I file. We want to open this input file. Similarly, O file 1, O file 2. These are the open output files. We want to open these in the program. These are the standard subroutine. Now we are using these up to F2. Now after this F out to our programming starts. So we have number of layers which is represented, for example, by L. Now we have radius of curvature which is represented by R. These are the variables which are input to the program, and these should be written in the input file. And we are open input file and reading from the input file. Then we have in the program some thickness. So we not given the direct thickness of the system of the beam. We are given in terms of thickness parameter known as spin to thickness ratio, which is represented by S. Then we have load. So we put some option. Load is given by, for example, if we want to apply sinusoidal load, it is represented by 1. If we want to use uniformly distributed load, we give load 2. And for example, if you want to some patch load or point load, you give some another value 3, for example. Similarly, NOT, this is the number of Fourier terms. These are terms which are required to obtain convergence. For example, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. It may be 1, it may be any value, depends upon the convergence. If you are able to find the convergence, for example, after using 10, then it is sufficient. And if it is not converging, your results are not converging and requires higher value of NOT, then you can use up to convergence. Now we have Y naught. This is the value of non-dimensional parameter which you want to use. For example, if you want to represent the result in non-dimensional form, we have the value of Y naught we will use for non-dimensionalization. Similarly, rho, this is the density. So this density will be used for non-dimensionalizing your results. Now we have another variable B. This is the width of the beam.
Excuse sir. Yes, sir. Appreciable if you can use some pointer or something to point out where you are discussing in the program.
Now we want to write a program. We are discussing the program of curved beam. So we have different. This is the general program. You can give the value of, for example, length. You can give the value number of layers. You can give the value of radius of curvature. You have a different. This is a general program. You can use for any geometry of curved beam.
Yaqub sir,
Yes.
they are asking us to point the cursor where in the lines. Say for example, row.
Now it is
breadth.
visible.
Yeah, you can move the cursor so that the participants
Cursor is, for example, cursor is on L.
It is visible.
Is it visible? Okay. So
Yeah.
we have the number of layers. L will be represented by number of layers. This will be the input. Similarly, R is the radius of curvature. This also the input. S, now we have thickness parameter. We are reading from the input files, and this is the thickness parameter. This is H, L by H, length to thickness ratio. Now we have load. So you can apply, for example, any type of load. Sinusoidal load apply कर सकते हो. You can apply uniformly distributed load. You can apply potential patch load. You can apply point load. You can give any option to this. Similarly, number of Fourier terms, NOT. This depends on the convergence of your results. Just 1 minute. So this will be used depend upon the convergence. Now Y naught and rho naught. These are the values of Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio for the material which you want to use for non-dimensionalization. Okay. Then we have B, width of the beam. Now you can write for checking, for example, you can write this on the output file, or you can see on the screen using fprintf command. So this will be appeared on the screen. After reading this, you can check it is read or not after on writing on the screen. So we have L, R, S, and so on. Now second will be load. So we have different options of load. For example, load 1, you can use if command, if else if command. Okay. So we give the different load. For example, sinusoidal load. We can give uniformly distributed load. This is represented by 2, and we have patch load, which is represented by load 3. Now we define loads and we give options. You can give any type of load. It will read like this. If you want to some other load, you can increase load is equal to 4, load is equal to 5, and so on. Now we have the material properties of different layers. So for example, we have L number of layers. So we have different material properties, and each material, or you can say each layer, will have 9 material properties. Okay. These are the stiffness coefficient y1, y2, y3. Basically, these are the Young's modulus. Then we have shear modulus G23, and we have Poisson's ratio. These are the 9 material properties. Then after we have mass density, which is represented by rho, and we have thickness THL. This is the thickness of any layer, and we have theta, the direction of the fiber orientation. So each layer have different fiber orientation. Each layer may have different thickness. Each layer may have different density or different material properties. So these are the inputs which is required through some input file which is needed for the program. So in this we have 12 input parameters: orientation of each layer, thickness of each layer, density of each layer, and 9 material properties. After that, we have to find the thickness of the beam. So thickness very easily obtained using this for loop. H is equal to H. For example, initially H0, then we add the thickness of each layer in H. So we will be able to find the final value of H. After that, depending upon the programming, depending upon the problem, we have the thickness. Now we have the coordinate at the interfaces of the beam. For example, if we have 4 layers of beam, then we must have the coordinate of the interfaces of each layer. Then the interfaces will be, for example, I have 4 layers, then L plus 1 will be the interfaces, including 3 interfaces, and Z coordinate of the top and bottom surfaces. So in this we have 5 coordinates. For 4 layers we need 5 coordinates in the thickness direction, 3 for the interfaces, and 1 for the top surface, and 1 for the bottom surface. And we define ZK1, and we start thinking about the bottom surface. Now we start everything by adding from the bottom side, so which is represented minus 0.5 H. It means it has the 0 coordinate, and the mid surface of the beam will be at the middle surface, and 0 at Z is equal to 0 will be the middle surface of the beam. Then using this for loop, at the last of the slide we have a for loop which is obtained for finding the coordinate of each interface. So at the top ZK we define the size, and in the loop you will be able to find the coordinate of the interface and top and bottom surfaces. Now after this we define the compliance matrix. This is 6 by 6 size. This is very known from the composite materials, and this obtained using Young's modulus and shear modulus, which are the material properties which are given or which are through the input file, which are given through the input files. Now for one dimensional case, we have S11 and S55. This is sufficient.
याकूब सर,
Yes.
आपका स्लाइड थोड़ा जूम कर दीजिए. कोई पार्टिसिपेंट मोबाइल यूज कर रहा है.
Okay. So zoom कैसे?
थोड़ा
Just 1 minute. It is not changing.
yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So
Sir,
we
you
have,
can press Control Shift plus plus, sir. It will zoom.
then we have any question?
Sir, press Control Shift plus plus, sir. Screen will be zoomed.
Not audible.
Sir, can you share your PPT after this session so that the
No,
program
I will share. Definitely, I will share.
Right. Thank you.
Program can be also be shared. So in this we have the compliance matrix. This is general for composite material. For plate, shell, we can use for any type of structure. So this is defined like this. You can take this from any book of composite material, for example, Jane Reddy and so on. Just 1 minute. मैं अभी बिजी हूँ थोड़ा. हाँ, मैं इतना बिजी हूँ अभी. जी हाँ, करना है. अरे वहाँ किरण करा रहे हैं ना, किरण अगला. हाँ, अभी थोड़ी देर में बात करूँगा. जी हाँ. Okay. Then we select the coefficient which are related to one dimensional case. For example, curved beam, we have S11 and S55. We define the size. This depends on the number of layers. Everything is depends on the number of layers. For example, 6 by 6 matrix, so we have 6 by 6 matrix of L numbers for 1 layer, for 2 layer, for 3 layer, and so on. For example, if number of layers is 10, we have 10 such matrices S, and we select the values of S11 and S55. Now after this, we transform from the material coordinate system to problem coordinate system. This is given by using this loop. So we have from I is equal to 1 to L number of layers, we transform this. So S11, this will be after transformation. When we are able to find the values of S11 and S55 after transformation, then we will find the values of QXX and QSS. This will be used in the transformation equation. We have constitutive law, which have been defined in the previous slides. Sigma x is equal to Q into epsilon x. So we have this. So we have QXX and QSS. This is for normal strain. This is for shear strain. So now we are able to find the constitutive equation, the coefficient of the constitutive equation. Now, in the curved beam, we have different theories. For example, we can have a shallow curved beam or we can have a deep curved beam. So this will be, we define some parameter in the formulation. Something is represented by delta C. Here delta C is represented by C. So C is equal to 1 for deep. If you put C is equal to 0, then it will be a curved beam, a shallow curved beam. Then we have type of analysis, input, prompt. So analysis will be, for example, static analysis, we have different program. If we have dynamic analysis, field vibration analysis, we have different program. If we have force vibration analysis, you can add different subroutine for finding the force vibration analysis. So we give analysis type 1, 2, 3 like this. Now after this, we have the coefficient of the third order theory, which are used in the previous slide. For example, we are going in the back side. These are the equation number 10. So we are calculating the coefficient defined in equation number 10. Okay. So we have different coefficients C1, C2, delta, R1, R2, and so on. Then after calculating these coefficients, we define symbolize. We have a variable which is Z. So we use sims Z. Now Z becomes variable. We have higher order function. This is a cubic function for the third order theory. Z, Z square, and Z cube. And we define this RKZ. Now it is represented on the function dependent on number of layers. For example, RKZ. Every layer have a different RZ. So we have RKZ. Now it becomes dependent of the number of layers. And after this, you will be able to find the value of RKZ at the end. Now we have the function of the third order theory. Now we have analysis type 1. Analysis type 1 is for static analysis. So we have static analysis type analysis 1. Similarly, for free variation analysis, this will be analysis type 2. So for static analysis, we have to find the value of K, any stiffness coefficients. Now stiffness coefficients are defined by A matrix. So we have defined A bar, A matrix, and A bar matrix. Now these are the 6, or you can say the 9 coefficients, 3 by 3 size, 9 coefficients of the matrix. So we have, or we are using this integration subroutine of MATLAB INT. So we have INT, first function B into Q11 into Z. Before this comma, we are using this. Before this comma, this is the function to be integrated. Now Z means you are integrating this function with respect to Z, and these are the two limits. These are the two limits, ZKI plus 1. Means ZKI, we are integrating from bottom of the layer to the top of the layer. These are the limits, and these ZK are obtained. These are the coordinates of the interfaces and top and bottom surfaces, which are obtained in the previous slide here. This ZK. Once you are obtained the values of I, then you have I double. You have A double and A bar double. का मतलब है कि ये it means now it gives you the value of A and A bar. Now after this, for static analysis, we don't need the inertia matrix. Therefore, we use or we define K matrix, mx double dot mu double dot plus ku is equal to f. So here the K matrix. So the size of K matrix will be 3 by 3. The displacements will be, we have 3 displacements, u, v, w, and psi. So we have a dimension 3, 2. So we find the displacements at the boundary x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 0.5 a, means at the center of the beam. So we have 2 points where we have to find the values of the displacement, mean at the boundary at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a by 2 at the center of the beam. Therefore, first column of this U matrix will give you the displacement at the end of the beam, x equal to 0, and the second column of this matrix will give the displacements at the center of the beam. Now we define some displacements. U dash means it is the derivative of U, this displacement. The size of U dash will be obviously the same as U double dash and U triple dash and so on. Because we find these derivatives because they are needed to find the values of the strains, epsilon sx, displacement, and so on. Sometimes you require double derivative, sometimes you require triple derivative, sometimes you define single derivative. So as required, we define these functions. Now we find the length of the beam. Now we have the value of S thickness parameter. which is defined by L by H. Therefore, from this you will be able to find the value of length of the beam, S into H. Now we give you the coordinate. We give coordinates where you have to find the displacement, because these are the functions of x. You will substitute the values of x. The first part will be at the boundary x is equal to 0, 0.0 into L, and 0.5 into L at the mid surface of the beam, at the midpoint of the beam, center of the beam. Now we have loads at the top surface, middle surface, and top surface. So we have at the lower surface 0 load, and the top surface we have applied some negative load in the z direction. That means compressive load we have applied on the top surface of the beam, and we have P0. This will be used for non-dimensionalization. So this will be the absolute value of Pz. So here we apply, because we generally find the non-dimensional displacement. So we put the value of load 1. Now we calculate different coefficients of the stiffness matrix K. So we have in this we have K11, K12, K13, K23, K22, and so on. We have a 3x3 K matrix, and we have K double. Means now you will be able to find the value of K double. Now we have apply some loads. Load is equal to 1. This will be the sinusoidal pressure load. Similarly, if you want to apply some uniformly distributed load, you have sinusoidally distributed load. This will be the Fourier terms for uniformly distributed load. Similarly, you can find patch load. This will be the Fourier expression for the patch load. Or you can use any type of load for this. Now we define P. This is the load vector. So here we apply load in the thickness direction only, in the direction of W, transverse direction. So we have P2 head. P2 head will be the after taking the Fourier expansion. So we have P2 head from the Fourier series in terms of P, which is given at the top surface, Pz1, Pz2. So we have a vector, load vector. Now the displacement can be easily found by using K inverse P or K by P. Okay. You can use inverse of bracket K into P or like this. Then we have in plane displacements U, then U dash, U double dash, and U triple dash. Okay. These are the functions of from Fourier series, sin x, and so on. And we will able to find the value of U double. Double means you are now writing the expression or finding the values of U and U dash, U double dash, and U and so on. And after this, you will be able to find the non-dimensional displacement U bar, like that. Now for input file, we prepare input file. So in this input file, we have inputs, number of layers, which is given by 4, R by A. This is as per you want to write in the program. This is according to the program. Okay. So we have different input, different material properties, we have different orientation, we have different thickness, we have different material properties. For example, we have mass density, Young's modulus, shear modulus, Poisson's ratio, and so on. So when we run the program, it will ask you the input file and different options. Substitute this, and you will be able to find the output of the system. For example, reflection of curved beam R by A is equal to 1. We perform using third order theory. So different values of S, thick and thin beam. We have delta C is equal to 0, mean deep curved beam, delta C is equal to 0 for shallow curved beam. So we have the deflection, and we have similarly deflection for antisymmetric curved beam. Similarly, using this, we can find the frequencies and so on. If you have any question, then you can ask.
There are a few questions in the chat box. I'll share that.
Okay.
There is one question from Diksha. Is the displacement linear or non-linear?
This is displacement is linear.
So, next question.
Chat box.
बहुत सारे but they are not related to questions actually.
No
How
problem.
to analyze polymer matrix composite?
This can be very easily used. In this, you have to find the values of Young's modulus, shear modulus, and Poisson's ratio. If you are able to find these by experimentation, you will be able to find the programming. Once you find the values of Young's modulus, shear modulus, and so on, Poisson's ratio, then you put this in the input file. Because in this program, you are not saying this is, for example, laminated, other composite material. It can be used for any type of material.
A question.
Sir,
Can I solve highly nonlinear questions through
geometry of the
MATLAB?
problem, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Geometry of the problem, sir.
Geometry is the problem. This is a curved beam. It has radius of curvature r, for example. Radius of curvature, you can give any value, for example, 1 meter, 2 meter, and so on. It has thickness, it has length, and the thickness is same throughout the beam. It is not changing. Width of the beam is also same. You can say it has a rectangular cross section. So this is, for example, simple programming. So we restrict up to linear part. It can be extended to nonlinear, but for nonlinear part, you will not be able to find the analytical solution, exact solution. Then you have to move some other type of solution, for example, finite element method and so on. So for this, you can apply your knowledge for solving nonlinear problems.
Sir, share that PPT also, sir. Share the PPT to all the participants. Hello?
Okay, so
Hello?
through email or
Mail.
I'll share.
Mail.
We'll share.
so I will send you the email of this PPT. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. हाँ तुम बताओ.
Any questions from the participant side? You may put it in the chat box. We have one question. Can we have a graphical image for this composite problem? Kileshwar Rajpuria. Yeah, we have given a loading. That is, we have made an option like point load and other loads are given, and we will choose as an input for the program. So we'll close the session and we will meet at 2 o'clock. Try to come at least 5 minutes before And it is my request, and also I will not be allowing any participant after 2 o'clock, please. Thank you.